You're crouched in frozen grass, watching your mother dig for wild onions with her bare hands. Her fingers are bleeding, the nail beds cracked from frost and stone. Your younger siblings cry from hunger in the felt tent behind you, their voices thin and desperate like wounded birds. Your name is Temüjin, and your world ended 3 days ago when they lowered your father's body into the steppe. Yesügei the Brave, chief of the Borjigin clan, accepted a meal from the Tatar tribe during a diplomatic mission. Standard hospitality. Except the Tatars remembered that your father killed their chief years before. They poisoned his wine with something slow and agonizing. He rode home vomiting blood and died screaming your name, begging you to protect your mother and the little ones. The morning after the funeral, your father's warriors packed their horses and left. The clan elder looked at your mother, Hölin, and said with dead eyes, "We follow strength, not widows and children. They took everything. The herds, the weapons, the honor. They left you with one broken cart and a death sentence." Your mother, who was once a chief's bride with soft hands and clean silk, now kneels in mud, digging for roots like an animal. The wind cuts across the Onan River Valley, carrying the smell of snow and sage. Endless white stretches to gray sky. Your little brother's lips are turning blue. A year passes like this. Starving. Hiding. Your mother teaching you which plants won't kill you, and which ones only make you wish they had. Then, your half-brother Bekter steals a fish you caught. It's the 3rd time this week. He's bigger, from your father's other wife, and he takes food from the smaller children's mouths because he can. Your mother does nothing. She can't. She's a woman in a world where only violence speaks. You and your full brother Tatar take your bows into the hills. You find Bekter sitting on a rock, gutting your fish with his knife. You don't argue. You don't warn him. You just draw your small composite bow and shoot. Tatar shoots too. 2 arrows, one through Bekter's chest, one through his back. He dies confused, still holding the fish. You're young, barely into your 2nd decade of winters, and you've just killed your own blood over food. Your mother beats you until you can't stand. She screams that you've murdered family, that you're cursed, that you're becoming a monster. But that night, when she divides the dried meat, she gives you the largest portion. You've learned the first lesson of the steppes. Violence works when words fail. 2 years crawl by. You survive. Then the Yesügei tribe, former allies of your father, hear about Bekter. They fear you'll grow into a threat. They raid your camp at dawn and fit you with a wooden kong, a neck collar that weighs 40 pounds and prevents you from lying down. They parade you through their camp like a dancing bear, a warning to other abandoned children who might forget their place. You sleep sitting up for 3 months, eating scraps meant for horses, your neck blistering where the wood rubs flesh raw. But while they think you're broken, you're memorizing everything. Guard rotations, clan politics, who drinks too much fermented mare's milk during festivals, who's loyal to the chief, and who's only pretending. You learn that weakness isn't permanent. It's just information you haven't weaponized yet. During a feast celebration, when the guards are drunk and distracted, you smash one man's skull with the kangui still locked around your neck. The wood cracks. His head cracks louder. You run into the Onan River and hide under the bank, breathing through reeds, while they search with torches. You stay submerged until dawn, your lips purple, your fingers numb. When you crawl out, the boy who cried when his mother beat him is gone. You've learned to swallow rage and release it with surgical precision. You find Jamuka, your childhood friend, the only person who remembers the oath you swore as boys to be brothers forever. He welcomes you into his camp. Together, you raid other tribes. You're brilliant at it. You memorize which camps store grain where, which herds are poorly guarded, which guards change shift when. Within a year, 40 warriors follow you, not Jamuka. You marry Berta, the girl your father arranged for you before his death. She's your proof of legitimacy. evidence you're honoring old contracts, that you're not just a survivor, but a chief's son reclaiming his birthright. 1 month after your wedding, the Merkid tribe raids your camp at midnight. Revenge for raids you led against them. You hear Berta screaming your name as they drag her into darkness on horseback. You chase them on foot until your lungs burn and you collapse in the grass. For the first time since your father died, you weep, not from sadness, from humiliation. You swore you'd never be powerless again, yet here you are, listening to your wife's screams fade into the endless steppe. 3 months later, you ally with Jamuka and Togrul, your father's old blood brother, to raise 20,000 warriors. You don't raid the Merkids, you exterminate them. Every male taller than a cart axle is executed. Women and children are enslaved. You personally kill the chief who took Berta, slowly, over 3 days, using methods that make hardened warriors vomit and leave the tent. Historians record the Battle of Bora Cliffs as a massacre. 8,000 Merkid dead. The survivors scattered into other tribes, their name erased. You recover Berta. She's pregnant. You don't know if the child is yours or her captor's. When she gives birth to a son, Jochi, you claim him publicly as your own. But the doubt is a slow poison. Years later, your other sons will use this uncertainty to deny Jochi inheritance, to question his right to rule. The whispers will never stop. You realize something fundamental in the aftermath. Mercy is a luxury for men who can afford it. You weren't powerful enough to prevent Berta's capture, so you eliminate mercy as a variable. The equation becomes simple: total victory or total annihilation. Nothing in between. No prisoners who might seek revenge. No survivors who might rebuild. According to the secret history of the Mongols, this massacre establishes your reputation across the steppes. You don't defeat enemies. You erase them from existence. But success breeds rivalry. You and Jamuka clash over tribal politics. Sources conflict on the exact cause. Some say stolen horses, others a murdered kinsman. But the steppe can't hold both your ambitions. He attacks first with a coalition of 30,000 warriors from 13 tribes. You have fewer than 3,000. The Battle of Dalan Baljut is a slaughter. You lose. Your forces scatter. Jamuka boils 70 of your captured generals alive in enormous cauldrons as a message to anyone considering joining you. You retreat into the Onon River Valley, the same place your mother dug for roots. You're back where you started, hiding in the wilderness with a handful of loyal men. But this defeat teaches you something Jamuka's arrogance blinds him to. You offer your enemies a choice. Join me and share the wealth, or die quickly and cleanly. No torture, no boiling alive, just efficiency. Mercy becomes a recruiting tool, not a moral stance. Former enemies command your armies if they prove competent. Bloodline means nothing. Skill means everything. Over 15 years, you systematically absorb or destroy every tribe on the Mongolian plateau. You create a decimal military system, units organized by tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. You promote shepherds to generals if they're brilliant tacticians. You demote nobles to foot soldiers if they're incompetent. You write the Yasa, a law code unheard of for nomadic peoples. Stealing a horse means death. Betraying your unit means death. The rules are brutal but consistent. In 1206, a Kurultai, a gathering of all the unified tribes, proclaims you Genghis Khan, universal ruler. You command 100,000 horsemen armed with composite bows, effective at 350 yards. You control the largest cavalry force the world has ever seen. They bring Jamuka to you in chains, betrayed by his own men who've decided backing the winner matters more than loyalty. He asks you to kill him without spilling his blood. Mongol tradition for nobility. You grant this final request, ordering men to break his back. As he dies, Jamuka whispers, "You'll conquer the world, brother, but you'll die wondering if it was worth it." You've won. You've unified the steppes. But everyone who knew you as Temüjin, the hungry boy, the frightened husband, is dead or bowing to Genghis Khan. You can't remember the last time someone used your birth name. You turn your attention east and south. China falls in campaigns that last decades. You're 56 winters old when you send a trade caravan of 500 merchants to the Khwarezmian Empire. You're thinking about legacy now, about administration, about spending time with grandchildren. Then, Governor Inalchuk of Otrar accuses your merchants of being spies and executes all 500. He seizes their goods. You send ambassadors demanding justice. Shah Muhammad executes one ambassador and returns the others with their beards shaved, the ultimate insult in Persian custom. You stare at these humiliated men and realize the trap you've built for yourself. Your reputation is founded on total retaliation. If you accept this insult, every empire will test you. Your sons will inherit a target, not an empire. You must make an example so horrifying no one will dare provoke your descendants for 1,000 years. You're exhausted. Your joints ache. You want to stop. But the logic of empire building is a machine that feeds on its own momentum. You can't maintain power through mercy after building it through terror. You mobilize 200,000 men, not to conquer Khwarezm, to erase it. Urgench, the capital of 1 million people, refuses to surrender. You divert the Amu Darya River through the city. The flood destroys irrigation systems that took centuries to build. Then, your soldiers enter. You assign each Mongol warrior a quota, 400 executions each. Historians dispute exact numbers, but estimates suggest 40,000 survivors from 1 million inhabitants. The siege lasts 7 days. You walk through the streets on day 4. The drainage channels run red. The smell of blood and decay is so thick it coats your tongue. A young girl clutches a felt doll, staring at you with empty eyes. She doesn't cry, doesn't beg, just stares. She looks like your granddaughter. She looks like your sisters looked when you were all starving together. You order your guard to make it quick, but that night, you can't sleep. You see your mother's face in hers. You're not doing this for protection anymore. You're doing it because stopping would mean admitting the last 50 years of slaughter were pointless. The machine of conquest has its own gravity. You're not driving it. You're fuel. During a campaign against Western Xia, you fall from your horse during a hunt. You're approximately 65 winters old. The injury doesn't heal properly. Fever sets in. You know you're dying. Sources conflict on the exact cause. Some say the fall. Others claim an arrow wound or illness, but the outcome is certain. You lie in a tent in the Lupin Mountains, struggling to breathe. Your final order is characteristically brutal. Conceal my death until Western Xia surrenders. Then execute every living thing in their capital. Your sons gather around the bed. You've divided the empire. Yoki gets the western steppes. Ogedei gets the title of Great Khan and Central Mongolia. Tolui gets the homeland. You see them watching each other like wolves circling a kill. They're already calculating betrayals, measuring territories, planning wars. Ogedei asks, "Do you understand why you did all this?" You want to say it was to make them safe, to ensure they'd never feel what you felt. But looking at their faces, hungry for power, you realize you didn't save them from your trauma. You infected them with it. The hunger that drove you from poverty became an appetite they'll never satisfy. You die on August 18th, 1227. Your body returns to Mongolia in secret. According to tradition, anyone who witnesses the funeral procession is killed to protect the burial location. Approximately 2,000 people are executed along the route. Your grave has never been found. You conquered from Korea to Hungary, 12 million square miles, the largest contiguous empire in human history. You killed an estimated 40 million people, roughly 11% of the world's population at that time. You did it all to ensure your family would never be weak, never be abandoned, never starve like you did in that frozen valley with your mother's bleeding hands. But within 50 years, your grandsons are slaughtering each other in civil wars. The empire fractures into competing khanats. The unity you bled for dissolves. Your great-great-grandchildren can't agree who the real heir is. The boy who killed his half-brother over a stolen fish built an empire, and his descendants tore it apart over the same primal urge for more. That's the story of Temüjin, who became Genghis Khan. He killed more people than Hitler, enslaved more than Caesar, conquered more territory than Alexander. And he did it because he watched his mother dig for roots with bleeding hands and swore no one would ever make him powerless again. Here's the uncomfortable question. If you'd been that starving child, abandoned by your clan, would you have done differently? It's easy to condemn monsters from safety. It's harder to ask what you'd become if survival required becoming monstrous first. Genghis Khan is dead, but his legacy reshaped half the planet. The same hunger that drove a Mongol orphan to conquer the world still drives empires, corporations, and individuals today. We're all trying to never feel powerless again. The question is how many people we're willing to crush to feel safe. Let me know in the comments whether understanding his childhood changes how you see his legacy, or if there's a point where trauma stops being explanation and becomes excuse. Subscribe for more deep dives into history's most complex figures.